This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Good morning, true seekers and true crime junkies. Welcome back to another episode of Hit the Road Jack, Finding the Zodiac. Today, we're going to continue on with a little bit about where Jack Terrence is, what's going on, the new murder sprees that are beginning to happen, and I'm going to catch up on a couple bits of information that are previous murders we've already covered, and one, I think a set that we have not even ever talked about, but I found during my research this week. I'd like to start by welcoming to the show Terry Batcher.
Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
And Harriet Suchet.
Yes, good morning.
Good
Hi,
morning.
How are you?
Well, I was doing
Good
some
morning,
research.
Gary Lee.
How are you? How are you, Harriet?
I'm getting ready for. I'm doing okay, but so I'll be on maybe for a few seconds because Nanette said wasn't really scheduled for today, but had something.
That's okay. I don't need. I don't want to waste our time talking about all of that, you guys. You're welcome to be here. Like I said, you're welcome to sit in. It was just more or less I hadn't had it planned and I hadn't talked to you. So let's not waste any more time on anything other than this case. Raymond Davis is a cabbie that was shot in Oceanside back in 1962. And I do have him in the presentation because it is something similar to the Paul Stein murder. And there was a phone call to the police. And I found in my research, and it states that he actually made 2 phone calls I was not aware of. One of them, he said I am going to pull something here in Oceanside and you'll never be able to figure it out. That was followed by a second phone call that states, do you remember me calling you last week and telling you that I was going to pull a real baffling crime? I killed a cab driver and I'm going to get me a bus driver next. So these 2 phone calls in combination scream Zodiac 101. Are you guys familiar with this particular murder of the cab driver in Oceanside?
No, never heard of it before. That's true.
It's no, I'm not, but it's very, just like you said, when you say the details, it describes Zodiac, you know.
Well, they also said that sorry, go ahead, Terry.
I'm just going to say, so far, it fits the bill, but the details.
Well, another interesting factor is that he radioed into the dispatcher that he was taking a fare to South Oceanside. So basically, this is what Paul Stein went through. And then the next day, his body's found in an alley between the current and former mayor's house.
Now it starts to sound more like
Paul Stein.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, okay. I got that little piece of information there. That's another one of on your front porch, in your face, just like OCCK by laying out the bodies within eye shot of the police department, or the boulders that Harriet talks about being within eye shot of the sheriff's department at the East State line. Like all of these places where he's obviously not trying to hide a darn thing. Anyways.
Very bold.
I mean, the Mayor Alioto was, where Paul Stein was killed. It was not far from Mayor Alioto's place.
Really?
So Mayor Alioto was, he was not only in charge of the police department, but he was in charge of the city, So, it was, this is very familiar sounding territory.
I thought so. And it says the ammo used to kill Davis was also a .22 caliber pistol, which was the same as Lake Herman Road murders. So I thought all of that really kind of pointed to, and the statement that next, I don't know how many communications of all the serial killer communications I've read, there's been no boasting of next. There's been no, this is who I'm going to get. This is what I'm going to go after. You're not going to know what I'm doing. I mean, most of these people have some type of a political plight where they're screaming at, the government for their misjustices to the United States Americans or other countries. And of course, in this particular case, we just seem to have this random thing going on that isn't actually all that random. And that kind of brings me to the next set of murders I was not aware of, but one I do want to actually investigate, which is Enadine Molina Martinez and Fermin Rodriguez. On June 8th of 1967, Enadine Molina Martinez, age 35, and Fermin Rodriguez, age 36, were attacked and murdered on Vallecillos Road in Alameda County while relaxing in their vehicle. A stranger approached the couple and told them to get out of the car. Rodriguez was shot dead as he exited the car, and the killer abducted Martinez. The killer then stopped by the entrance of Sonora Regional Wilderness, where Martinez was killed trying to escape. Shortly after, a nearby resident called the San police substation to report gunshots, resulting in the discovery of bodies. Rape and robbery were ruled out as motives. The murders occurred close to Pleasanton, where the Zodiac mailed a letter to the Los Angeles Times in March of 1960. So that brings me to some of these.
Well, you're garbled. Really garbled sound.
Just saw something interesting saying that the host muted my mic. I'm not sure how that happens. How do I sound now?
Perfect.
Huh. Very interesting.
Like the commercial. You sound now. You sound clear.
Read that whole thing again because and just go slowly and softly.
Enadine Molina Martinez and Fermin Rodriguez. On June 8th, 1967, Enadine Molina Martinez, age 35, and Fermin Rodriguez, age 36, were attacked and murdered on Vallecillos Road in Alameda County while relaxing in their vehicle. A stranger approached the couple and told them to get out of the car. Rodriguez was shot dead as he exited the car, and the killer abducted Martinez. The killer then stopped by the entrance of Sonora Regional Wilderness, where Martinez was killed trying to escape. Shortly afterward, a nearby resident called the Santa Rita police substation to report 2 gunshots, resulting in the discovery of the bodies. Rape and robbery were ruled out as motives. The murders occurred close to Pleasanton, where the Zodiac mailed a letter to the Los Angeles Times in March of 1971. Now, we know that he also, I want to say that he also mailed the 12th victim card out of Pleasanton, correct, Harriet?
I believe so. Yeah.
The reason why I got so interested in this one is Vallecillos Road, which most people don't know, but it's a common place that I travel when I have to go to San Jose or to the Bay Area in some locations. Vallecillos Road is actually the road where GE has a power plant set way off into the back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm very sure, and every time I pass this GE power plant, I have this sensation or this feeling that Jack would have either have been there or known about it or aware of it. And then the ending result of where the second person is killed being a regional wilderness park is again something that we know that Jack is extremely familiar with, and that we are seeing all of these, far out locations that somebody has to be familiar with in order to be there in the first place. So this kind of sounds like something that we should look at for the Zodiac, right?
Do they have any documents that go with it?
I haven't researched it yet. I was just kind of popping off on the specifics that I read on Wikipedia about it, and I didn't know that anybody had attributed or thought that this was a possibility as a potential Zodiac crime. So I just found it, like I said, this last week, and I thrown it in here. So I need to do some research on it, but it may mean that the Zodiac got started before 1968 in this area.
Oh.
Yeah.
Zodiac speaking.
I got the communication saying that it's coming. Zodiac and all this stuff is coming.
The actual Zodiac speaking Zodiac speaking though didn't start till 1969, till after practically most of the Zodiac murders were dead. They were gone and done.
No. I know that, but I'm just saying. So is it not having taken credit for this in his original letters, and it may have been something that provoked him to start writing because they had it all wrong. They were reporting it in the news wrong, and he's just too boastful of a man to let that happen. So he needed to come up and say, hey, I'm the one that's doing all of these. But this one certainly seems to fit in with the particulars of the Zodiac.
Seems like he got a little more to work with the Raymond Davis one, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, I haven't done any research on it yet. So when I go, searching around, I'll figure out and find out what the logistics, maybe what they were shot with or things like that.
All right.
Anyways, let's get back to the PowerPoint presentation. So that brings us to the next murder, which is of Kim Allen. Now, do you have anything in your solves, Harriet, that indicates whether or not Zodiac has taken credit for Kim Allen, or if he's stating someone else has done this?
Not as far as communications, but the evidence spoke volumes, and people are going to be surprised what. She was not an aloof hippie girl that was careless about hitchhiking to work at Real Foods. Real Foods became Whole Foods, and who owns Whole Foods? A billionaire. So her family is very wealthy.
There you go.
And so, yeah, it's definitely has something to do with John Edward Wells Jr. and cocaine, and it's the evidence. And where I got the evidence from was all these relayed informations from old archives in the Santa Rosa newspapers. So, again, it's not your typical cryptic communication, but it's how the evidence was described for the last 50 years. And,
all right. Well, let me read that. Let me read that so that everybody can catch up. On March 4th, 1972, 19-year-old Kim Allen, hitchhiking from Larkspur, Marin County to Santa Rosa, Mount Tamalpais Enterprise Road. Last seen hitchhiking along 101 from her job in Larkspur in Marin County to her home in Santa Rosa. If she's rich and from a well-to-do family, why is she hitchhiking and working? I don't know. I'm going to move on.
It's a story. Keep going.
Okay.
Keep
Her
going.
Her body was found the next day in a remote section of southeast Santa Rosa. Symbols found on the Exorcist letter, January 1974, slide 6. Well, that's not the slide number anymore. We're also on a missing soy barrel owned by Kim. This is listed on the murder map of Betts. There is the Mount Tamalpais listing, there's Marin County, and there's also Santa Rosa listed. Tortured before her death and died from slow strangulation, which could have taken half an hour or more. She'd also been raped, which this sets the Zodiac stuff a little bit apart. There were marks on her wrist, ankles, and neck indicated that she had been tightly bound. Reminiscent of hog tying, they said. So to me, that does kind of lead back to what we know about Jack's capabilities. The sheriff noted that the perpetrator of the crime may have injured himself while disposing of the body. Tracks showed that someone had slipped over the top of the embankment and slid about 10 feet down the steep slope above her body, like he had fallen while tossing her over the edge. Now, I do find that interesting because we do have the injury of Jack in 72, correct? Harriet?
But I think that was some kind of injury, but it's not the same as a leg injury. So I was just shocked by what I came up with. I mean,
okay, we'll go there. Let me finish this up real quick. A rape kit was taken from Kim's body, and semen, probably from her attacker, was found. At the time, no DNA analysis technology was available, so only basic parameters were analyzed. The evidence was then stored away and forgotten for many years. It was searched for again around the year 2000, when Jack Terrence became a suspect in the case, but it could not be located. Like most of these cases, evidence goes missing. Somewhere around 2011, the rape kit was found. A DNA profile was developed and submitted to CODIS. There was no hit to any of the other DNA profiles in the system. Boy, I spelled CODIS wrong. And Terrence. This is a very old slide I obviously did not reread before I started this. But all right, so what was your evidence stating?
Okay, where she was working was a very, very wealthy owned store by Kimball Allen. She's the daughter of Kimball Allen, who's so I was like, oh my God, okay, what's this going to say? But shall I just read the evidence that I came up with? And this is after researching this for like before I did this one. It was probably took months, but
let's just do it if you're going to do it, because if you're going to say it, just say it.
Yeah. So here it is. This is when I came up with all the evidence and then the story that comes out. Okay, it is Kim Wendy Allen, 3472. Evidence and clues decoded. Kim Wendy Allen, Santa Rosa junior college student, 3/1/72, post meridium 12, shift to 5 post meridium. Orange aluminum frame backpack, hitchhike from the Real Foods store, Magnolia Avenue, Larkspur, California, 94939 to 2298 Guerneville Road, Santa Rosa, California, 95403. 2 men give ride to Bell Avenue, San Rafael, 94901 storeroom. Father Kimball W. Allen, mother Roberta Allen, 19 lb wooden soy barrel with red Japanese on the side, hog-tied wrist, ankles with rope, metal shop car oil, raped checkbook, backpack found, Kentfield, California, 94904, strangled body between Bennett Valley Road and Sonoma Mountain off Enterprise, face down nude, 1 golden hoop earring, 95404, and then I put 3572 and 32472. That's the day set. Anyways, here's what it came out with. FBI, documents in order, IO, OOA, that's Operation Order or something. Anyways, on or about 3472, Kimball Allen, Real Foods, 94939, enterprising father, paid Mill Valley stepmom Annan, 1 evil Ursuline stepsister, IA, that's spy, Reve Annan, DOB, that's date of birth, 2/19/1952, Lori Lee Cursa foster mother, Arlene Place, Sheila Harrington, to arrange Kim be taken from 95403, the zip code, bed by John Edward Walsh Jr. and meat cutter Ronald Bruce Cursa, sell to Saudi Prince Group, hog-tied Fornicate, Red Dodge Wood Camper Drive to San Rafael 94901, the zip code, storeroom on day 2, avow deal off, back to 95404, the zip code area. She cut rope, tied hand, wrists, ankles with a knife, fought off the 2 men, escaped Bale Bennett, the road area, and then Ken Narlow, toil, fell in loam, choke, strangle, die on or about 3/5/72, mad stepmother, that's Annan, male, Momo Giancana to Northwest Hong Kong, 3/24/72, 94904, 1 soil barrel, 8 kilos of cocaine, and that's just by anagramming that evidence that is relayed over and over and over again in a whole bunch of newspaper archives. And,
what is the talk about
the
red? What is the talk about the Red Dodge?
That there was a red Dodge wood camper, and that's also seen in one of the other. I believe that's been seen in one of the Santa Rosa hitchhiker murders also. But it's a Dodge wooden camper. Somebody built a wood camper above the red Dodge.
It's a truck.
Yeah.
I think that I identified a picture that was in Nora's belongings where I can see that. Oh gosh, what's Jack's younger brother? I've forgotten his name.
Charles, another Charles.
No, Charles is his older brother.
Okay, sorry. Sorry, Charles, Terrence.
Right. Anyways, I can
yeah.
see him in the picture, so I know that Jack is present, and there is a red Dodge truck or a burgundy red Dodge truck that's in the picture. And I think I identified it as a Dodge based on its body style. I will go back and look for that to see if that's consistent, because these pictures are from the 1972 era, and we're talking 1972.
Mm-hmm.
So he is blaming other people for being responsible for Kim Allen, that he's not part of it.
They're just there. He's not part of it, but his crew had infiltrated the group. They're in the end they're trying to get Hoffa and Giancana and the cocaine and all kinds of trouble that's causing. So yeah. So
I have a question. The
Yeah.
name Narlo, that rings a bell. Are we talking about? Wasn't that a cop? Wasn't there a Narlo, a cop?
Yeah, that's the Zodiac detective Ken Narlo, who found the victims in Lake Berryessa. He is not a good cop. He's definitely showing up in a lot of these. He was paid and he was bought off, and I'm seeing so many of these with his name coming up.
And
also in San Francisco.
And Walsh, we're talking about the guy. The guy lost the kid.
The one that ends the one that ends up smack dab in the middle of receiving letters from the Zodiac, only he calls himself Scorpion.
Yes, the same one.
Okay.
The same one. And Reve Annan is the stepsister to Kim Wendy Allen at the time.
Really?
So and she married
one more question.
Yeah,
she's the evil stepdaughter or whatever he's on. Is he referring to Kim Allen then? Is that who you think he's referring to?
No, he's referring to the Ursuline stepsister, because both of them, according to this, went to the Ursuline school, very wealthy school in Santa Rosa area.
Okay. Gotcha.
And so he's referring to Reve because that's her stepsister.
Gotcha. Okay.
The dirty secrets that are coming out.
Wow.
Now, and Reve is who?
Reve Annan Walsh. Reve Walsh. That she's just about to marry John Walsh here.
Can I ask
John
one
Walsh's
more
wife.
Any speculation as to who you think actually was responsible for John Walsh's son's death?
Definitely.
We'll get to that. We're not in 1991 yet. Yeah, we're not in 1991 yet. But what she's saying is all of this stuff in Santa Rosa, she's saying is linked though to that. And then we see eventually John Walsh is also deprived of his own son and subsequently written letters as well.
And he was from California at that time too, then, huh? Walsh was in California?
This is saying Reve was in California, so he's definitely linked to California. John Edward Walsh Jr. I keep on, and when he's doing these stories, and keep in mind the FBI was also headquartered in the North Bay area in Santa Rosa at the time, so this was easy to link this through the FBI for whatever reason. Good or bad.
I always wondered the connection, how they go from losing a child to becoming, part of America's Most Wanted and working directly with the FBI. You don't just get to be that when you're the average member of the public who's lost a child. I've never seen this happen in any other instances where a child has been murdered, that the parents move on to become something greater than they were before they lost their child.
And then one more question.
The thing that gets... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Just a real quick one is, so in other words, you believe that Walsh and Narlo are kind of part of Zodiac Jack's crew?
Oh, no, not his crew. He's calling them evil here. They are calling them evil. He can't stand Kenny Narlo. There's some decos I have about Kenny Narlo that are probably triple X rated. May not be able to read them. So, and every time they're doing these, they can't stand, especially Jack, cannot stand John Edward Walsh Jr. So every time I've seen these, he's spelling out the name. He can't, and it's just like he wants to get it clarified. The details are amazing when you do these.
Okay.
And
wow.
It's just,
all right, let me move on then. We've covered a lot of that there.
Thank
now, We had
Yes.
we had another crime spree. I don't think that this is related to the Zodiac, but I threw it in here obviously way back
Charlie
when.
Chopoff. Nice.
Charlie Chopoff in New York, following the Freeway Phantom in November 1971, or just an extension of it, was kind of a question mark, but the MO wasn't the same. On March 9th of 1972 in New York, the body of an 8-year-old African-American boy named Douglas Owen was found on the Manhattan rooftop. He had been stabbed 38 times and his penis was mutilated. Probably not the Zodiac killer, I said, but one never knows. I honestly thought that his last murder had already occurred and that we were not going to see anything in New York again, but this is a different MO. This is now males, but I couldn't entirely rule it out because of the Atlanta, Georgia child murder cases, which were all African-American boys. And girls, sorry, but it was a different race. It was a different age group, but it still kind of fits in with some of the things that we're saying that this man was responsible for writing about. On March 17th, 1972, Jack has to appear in Santa Clara County for court in regards to the 1971 arrest with Danny Reynolds. And I have this listed out here. It says defendant is to return March 17th, 1972 at 1:30 p.m. for further evaluation. It says the defendant is advised by the court that he may apply to the court to have this record cleared after the period of probation. So this might be one of the reasons why we don't see it coming up. Maybe he had it expunged and we don't see it coming up, but it's hard to believe that you would go to jail, or you would be arrested, go to jail, be convicted, have to do probation, pay a fine, and then you can have it removed from your record.
Yeah. Well, same municipality though. Well, wait a minute. Okay, well that's in Santa Rosa in California, but this is in
Santa Clara. This is in Santa.
Okay, you're doing by comparison thing. Okay.
Yeah, it's a by comparison. Again, it was just something I stumbled across on the Charlie Chopoff. Like I said, I don't think that it is likely that it's the Zodiac killer, but the mutilation, the overabundance of stabbings, all of these things were kind of a connective to what we see happening with all the other crimes where there was just literally overkill.
Can I ask you guys one more question?
Yes.
You know, questions people might think of. Is it your impression that Jack Torrance had homosexual tendencies?
No, but if you were trying to make the crime look like something other than what it is, then you're
going
to make...
What did Harriet say? What did Harriet just say?
I said absolutely not. In fact, but he seems to have. When you come up to some of the future ones, there's one. Jay Stevens. Jay Stevens was a famous San Francisco. We're going to get way off the charts here. But,
sorry.
He's definitely not gay, but he respects, I think, to some degree, some of the people that did impersonations, and dressed in drag and, things of that nature. But, it was part of the era, especially when he's working doing this. Yeah.
But he is definitely a misogynist and seems to hate women more than men, right?
Well, I think that's the general consensus with the overkill on the females.
Okay, yeah. And you had overkill there on a male. That's why I just brought that up.
Right.
Well, I think that's why he needed Nora and Dennis and that family. That recentered him, very. So I'm agreeing to a bunch of your statements, but he definitely needed a very strong, loving female person, and Nora happened to be it.
Gotcha.
So, to keep him in line.
So I put in order, and I know we've already covered A Rich Man by D.B. Cooper, but it was written March 28th of 1972. So I needed to put it in chronological order to better understand the timing of the communication. It's well after. We're talking now 5 months after the skyjacking. He is still writing. You wouldn't by chance have the Rich Man Solve available to read really quick, do you, Harriet?
Oh, yes, I do. Of course I do.
I want to see how it fits into the timeline of what we've got going on right now.
Let me find that really quick.
So for anybody who doesn't know, while you're finding it, I'm going to read it. The Portland Oregonian newspaper, Portland, Oregon. I think this one had something to do with Bill Hilliard. Do you think that Bill Hilliard is also involved in any way with Walsh or any of the other people you just talked about?
He's involved on killing him.
Gotcha.
Sorry to say it that way, but he's on the side of we're going to bring these people down. You'll see that in what became in Robert Graysmith's list of the Zodiac. All those cases that ended up in the 1970s San Francisco are now known as the Doodler, and Bill Hilliard is very much in that.
Gotcha.
And he's on the side of trying to bring them all down. So I do have it.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I found it to be stenographic code. So I will read, what I found to be the stenographic code. It's the way 2 is spelled, Uncle A, very old, UNK, and please tell the lackey cops, DB Cooper is not my real name, in parentheses, a rich man. It just came out with a solve that says, Bill Hilliard, cooperate to topple E, the Samaritas Hoppa. You kill woman, or you were involved to kill woman named Black Dahlia, Camera, Monterey, Dr. George Odell, L.A. Lots Pictures. Then it's saying something about Sam Giancana, a woman, that's Donna Lass, killed East State Line, Nevada. He's trying to remind him of the past, and they're, in a way, blackmailing him to be involved in helping to bring these people down.
Gotcha. All right. Well, so then that's basically in the time era. But what I thought extremely interesting about this DB Cooper message is that it is actually sent on the same day. Now, I don't know where it's sent from. I only know it's been sent to the Portland Oregonian newspaper in Portland, Oregon. Do you have any idea of where this was mailed from, Harriet?
I think I have it somewhere. Come on now.
Well, while you look at it, I'm going to introduce the next.
I don't think I have the envelope. God,
I don't think so. I just have the typewritten version.
Yeah, this was some of the stuff. If I remember correctly, the very rich man, I think it was one of the communications that didn't get released until many years later.
Probably not. I think I got it from Terry. Okay, so the interest for me, and you can tell me what you think about this next murder, is that on that day that letter was mailed was also the day a murder occurred on March 28th of 1972. Linda Uhlig, found in Half Moon Bay. She was 19 years old and she was beaten to death. And we do show a Half Moon Bay murder on the Sandy Betts murder map that she received, I think, either on the front of her house or in a mailbox or someplace that this map was given to her with all of these different murders. And I've actually been able to check off these murders as we go down the list with none extra. In fact, I might have a couple that are missing because I haven't identified who those murders are yet. But as we skip through and I research and find more murders, I can always look back to see if that completes the set. This one is listed. It says, authorities take a new look at a 50-year-old coastside killing that still shocks conscience. Local news stories, HMBREview.com. Those with an even longer memory hope to one day hear similar success in solving the riddle of the death of Linda Diane Uhlig, who was brutally killed and dumped in a coastside drainage ditch 50 years ago this week. So we've got the drainage ditch, we've got the beaten to death, we've got the water, reference. Uhlig was 19 at the time of her murder. She had been an honor roll student at Colby High School in Colby, Wisconsin, before moving to an apartment on 29th Street in San Francisco, where she was able to live on her own upon graduation. How do you do that? How do you move to one of the most expensive places like San Francisco and live on your own after graduation? That's very impressive.
Yeah, was it expensive in those days, though, as much so as it is now?
But expenses is relative. Back then, the money that they had was expensive. What they paid to live there was expensive, far more expensive than living in the country.
However, there wasn't the massive level of inflation that's occurred since 19.
Well, it doesn't matter. San Francisco has still been the hub. It's always been expensive to be there, period. No matter what.
I understand that. I do understand that. Go ahead.
So that's impressive.
Yeah, I'm from San Francisco. It was definitely expensive, that area. So
yes, it's always been expensive. It's been the hub of everything.
But food, it was not as inflated as it is now.
Well, no, but we're not talking about now.
Less than $2. in those days.
But we're not talking about now. We're not trying to make a comparative value. What I'm stating is San Francisco has always been an expensive place to live, more so than Sacramento, more so than any other place, probably than Los Angeles and the San Diego area. So it being a hub has always been an expensive place. And for somebody coming straight out of high school, being able to support themselves and live alone says that there's something going, there's money somewhere. I'm sorry, but there is.
Okay.
Yeah.
It says she landed a job with the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company. What is insurance back in those days? Mob owned, mob related. Her new life in the Bay Area didn't last.
My grandfather. My grandfather. He was in the business. Sorry.
Her new life in the Bay Area didn't last long. Her mutilated body was found by a worker on March 28, 1972 on the side of Parizima Creek Road, south of Half Moon Bay. At the time, investigators told the press that robbery could be the motive, but the horrific scene would seem to point to something else. Upon arrival, investigator found Oleg's remains in a ditch alongside the rural road. Her skull had been smashed, and according to the press reports of the time, it appeared the assailant tried and failed to decapitate her, perhaps with a machete or axe. Just as macabre, newspapers' reports say that her torso had been cut deeply, perhaps with a pocket knife, in what a sheriff's official at the time said might be an attempt to cut her in half. Investigators noted that a pool of blood was found about 30 yards away. They theorized she was killed elsewhere, perhaps dragged from a vehicle and left by the side of the road. So, very Black Dahlia-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and Colby.
On there.
Good. I was going to say Colby High School. Isn't Colby some that name?
That's in Wisconsin. That's in Wisconsin. I know nothing about it.
But that's where she's from.
That's from though, but that's not where she's at when she's killed.
But there's a point that I'm going to make about that. You were looking for a money connection, okay? And I'm saying that Wisconsin is a money-making place, especially in the cheese. And isn't there a cheese called Colby? I may have that wrong. That's the research.
Oh my God! Does that bring us back to the cheddar or the cheese letter?
Well, I'm saying if his associates are coveting certain businesses, and you think she has a money connection, well then that looks like one we should dig deeper into and look into from that angle. Absolutely, right. There's a massive overkill of a murder too. This is a shock and awe murder. It's a big time shock and awe murder.
This is somebody very angry. I didn't do that one. That's on Grace. That's on Grace Smith's list, and that's surprising that didn't become a part of the Doodler, they've done with these cases. My God.
Grace Smith's list.
Yeah, Oleg is. Oleg is on Grace Smith's list.
Why are they calling it the Doodler?
They sensationalized it to get it off the eyes of the Zodiac cases. That's what I was wondering. What happened to Grace Smith's list for all the Zodiac potential Zodiac victims, and Oleg is one of them. Yeah.
That might be where I got her information, because I only recently located this article that was written on March 29th of 2022 this last week. So I was looking for information and a picture on her, and this is what I found based on an article that was written, like it says, 50 years later. All right, so that brings us to... Strange. There is another murder in April of 1972 in New York. 1 month later, another 10-year-old black boy was stabbed and subject to genital mutilation, but ultimately wound up surviving. Again, I put probably not the Zodiac killer, but I could not find enough information on this to kind of identify what the victim had stated in regards to what his killer's appearance was, especially since he made it. On April 25th of 1972, we have the murder of Jeanette Camille, hitchhiking from Cotati to Santa Rosa Highway 101 and still missing, I believe, at that point. On July 6, 1979, on July 6, 1979, body was found in a shallow grave. Body was hog-tied, so now we have another hog-tying reference, just as we talked about in Kim Allen. That was Kim Allen, right? Yes, Kim Allen, hog-tied. I would be interesting to know what type of rope was used, because there is this clothesline theory that Sandy Betts has that was used at Lake Berryessa and subsequently seeing all of these other hog tying events, it would be interesting to note what that particular rope was. Oh, do you?
It wasn't a clothesline. Yeah, it wasn't a clothesline. It was some kind of curtain binding line that they found and I have that as a solve too.
Okay, so let me finish up with her real quick.
But let's just.
Dark hair parted in the middle, headed to school at Santa Rosa Junior College, where Kim Allen had also gone, which is kind of a reminiscent of Sherry Jo Bates, Ardsma, and many of the other co-eds, within 100 yards of Lori Kursa's final resting place. So now we've got all of these things wrapping and tying themselves around each other, along with your solves stating that these were all part of the same type of killing spree by the same group. I want to say that here, Dennis says, before I go, Jeanette Kamahili went to school in Japan, so must have been raised in Japan, and that's why Jack would say he was limited English proficient. What's the history of this woman? How can law enforcement expect to solve this cold case with such obvious gaping holes? Anyway, since Teresa Walsh had, this is actually your stuff. I'm reading yours, Harriet. Since Teresa Walsh had a 2-year-old son named Dan Rand, which is Japanese, by the way, and she, Reeve, according to Jack Walsh CIA bedtime story, switched IDs with Japan-raised Kamahili. Reeve and John have a secret son. Is this the son that Jack was intended to go after, as he revealed in the 1973 Walsh evidence decode, and not the future-born Adam? Dan Rand means circle of friends. Such a nice-sounding name and an incredible lurid mystery. Let the decoding continue to reveal the horrid truths. Jack, thank you for leaving a trail behind for real code breakers to find. That's all I ever wanted to do was solve Zodiac and any of the mysteries associated before Zodiac era and afterwards. So what is your solve on this?
I'm looking for it. Oh my God. Okay. Jeanette Kamahili, come on now. Because one thing led to another, to another.
You look for that. I'll continue with more information. So keep on. Eyewitnesses seen a man in a nice blue 2-door Chevy Impala at Lake Berryessa acting strange the day of the attack on Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell. Here is a photo from 1972 taken at Stevens Creek with Jack and Dennis Kaufman's mother, Nora. Now, this proves 2 things to us here. Number 1, Jack is still in the Bay Area to some degree in 1972. And number 2, Nora is definitely in South Lake Tahoe because she purchases this vehicle in December of 1971 using an address from that area. So, and all of the pictures that I find up through, I want to say 74, 75 are all in the South Lake Tahoe area abouts. Robert Graysmith's letters indicated that the suspect claims it was a 4-door ice blue Chevy Impala. Now, of course, they were going based off of what the taillights looked in the rear because the vehicle was backed up to one of the eyewitnesses, and they had reported a particular style of taillights. I don't have any paperwork that is consistent with Jack Terrence getting involved with Nora in 1971, but I do believe that if Dennis believed that this was, in fact, Jack's car and not Nora's car, that it may very well have been introduced to him when he first met Jack, and Jack subsequently sold this vehicle to Nora to get that vehicle out of his hands and out of suspicion. Let's see. He moved in with her at 3715 Blackwood Road, number 7, South Lake Tahoe in 1971, based on Dennis's recollection. One of the articles on the car is the car was a late model American make, a light colored 2-door with black bucket seats, between which was a sporty console style automatic transmission gear shift. At the front end of the console was an ashtray, in which on the right hand side was a built-in cigarette lighter. The car bearing the old California license plate was messy. Clothes and papers were scattered on the dashboard and on both the front and back seats, mostly men's clothing, but also some smaller pattern t-shirts such as a child of 8 to 12 years might wear. So I thought this was a very interesting article. I believe that it came out in regards to Kathleen John's abductions. This is what she described, and it is pretty much a very similar type and make of vehicle. And if it was containing lots of men's clothing, that would explain Jack going back and forth between the San Jose Bay Area to South Lake Tahoe, where he's making his transition, and having children's clothes in there. He not only had children of his own, but Nora had 4 children. So there's a possibility that we would see all of these things in Jack's car. Go ahead, Terry B.
I was going to say that, by the way, that image in there is a 64 Chevy Impala. And
that image is not.
That image is a Chevy Impala.
That image with, along with the registration from Nora, shows that it is a 1964 Chevy Biscayne.
Oh, Biscayne? And it has a sporty console in it? That doesn't jive. Biscayne.
No. I don't know what this car had inside of it. Okay. I'm just stating what, and we don't know how they were made. You know what I don't know how they were made.
It is ice blue. And it looks like that trim strips on that particular car indicates that it's a grade higher than a Biscayne. Biscayne is plain Jane. That's down the bottom. No fancy stuff. Plain Jane. Usually there were 4 doors. Sold cheaper, etc.
I just read the VIN number, and the VIN number, based on the information research, that VIN number came back to a Chevy Biscayne. Now, this could be an upgraded version of it, just like we know that, Lincoln, Mercury, Ford are all the same people, but we've got different levels of money and different levels of packages that you're going to see between them. So it really kind of is up in the air. I just know that Nora didn't come into possession of this vehicle until after the murders at Lake Berryessa.
Super popular car too, tons of them, especially in California.
Did you find that, Harriet?
Well, actually, I found the solve of what happened with Jeanette Kamahili with what became out of.
Okay,
Teresa
read that solve. We've only got a couple minutes left, so read that solve.
Well, I'll just be really quick. Shall I just read the evidence or just the solve?
No, just the solve.
Okay, it came out as, "Hi, Dick N." So this is when Nixon had just left. Diplomat Hotel, John Walsh II, BHS, that's Bahamas, CIA. Check to name Rife Reve - Teresa R. Same, 9554 BB, that's a nickname for Reve, sold IRA, that's the Irish Republican Army, and then National, Hoffa, Wisconsin, Fat Bum Hoffa, cocaine from 30,000, that's the address of Pacific Coast Highway 90265, from 95404 Lorraine Way, cul-de-sac, 1973, Teresa and Kamahili, 23, switch ID because they're the same age, came to North Off-Highway Vehicle in Lower Lake, where I live, December 22nd, 1973, all 8 2 peyote buttons, husband hogtie Kamahili, fornicate, oops, I goofed, grabbed Wong, hi girl, dumping Mark West Creek, underlog, I'll grab son, rip off head in IRC, that's Indian River County, place remains in BLM at Marie on Stay, that's right here in Lower Lake, Eva Blau, X location, rural, and then he's saying Dick - Sterling Weaver Allen, all fucking 94558 Kenny Narlo, Zodiac.
So Narlo had a few girlfriends, you're saying?
He was very twisted. He was he's my God. So at least I said that one. I got worse ones to read.
Is he still alive? Is Narlo still alive?
Thankfully he's dead. He's dead. Thankfully he's dead.
Yeah.
God.
There's footage of
him. That is all we have for today. We again didn't get through but 4 slides, you guys. This is like going to make me crazy. I'm never gonna make it through this presentation.
Okay. Boy.
At any rate, let's just call it a great weekend. We made it through some information. It seems it's going to take us a bit longer to make it through this stuff than planned, but we will be back with the continuation of murders, the final moving of Jack into South Lake Tahoe and into Nora and Dennis life. And as we come across more communications, we'll discuss those. And I think next week, Terry and I are going to look at this 7-11 theory that you've been talking about, which you have
it's 7-11 evidence, not a theory. It's you can look at the evidence and weigh for yourself.
Okay. Yeah. I have to. I'm closing out here, Terry. We're going to next week revisit the 7-11 theory, which is based on the evidence that you state is there. So we'll look at it and we'll cover that then. Thank you guys for being here. Everybody have a wonderful weekend, and we will a happy Memorial Day first and foremost. And thank you to all of our veterans who have served.
Thank you.
Right. See you guys all next week.
Thanks, Harriet.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.